Arcades were a cultural phenomenon in the early 80s. Neon lights filled the dimly lit rooms, buzzing with the sound of electronic beeps and the satisfying ding of quarters being fed into machines. These arcades were where young players came to engage with the most exciting games of the day: Donkey Kong, Frogger, Tempest, and others. But amidst these classic titles, one game allegedly stood apart, not for its popularity, but for its mysterious, eerie nature. That game was Polybius, and its legend still baffles and fascinates people to this day. So, what was Polybius, and why did it leave such a deep and eerie imprint on the arcade world? Was it a forgotten game with a tragic backstory, or was it something far stranger, maybe even sinister? Let's dive into the history of this elusive game and explore whether it ever really existed, or if it's just the stuff of urban legends. What is Polybius, really? According to the lore, Polybius first appeared in Portland, Oregon in 1981. While the arcade scene was thriving with popular titles, something out of the ordinary began to show up in a few lesser-known arcades in the area. Polybius wasn't a game that you could easily identify. Its cabinet was unmarked, with a minimalistic black design that lacked any obvious branding. Unlike other arcade games with bright, colorful logos, Polybius simply stood there, its unassuming appearance hiding a deep mystery. Players who dared to try it reported strange and unsettling symptoms. Some said they felt nausea and dizziness, while others described vivid hallucinations and disturbing visions. The gameplay itself was equally bizarre, with descriptions varying depending on the source. However, the consensus seemed to be that it was a disorienting experience, filled with flashing lights, jarring sounds, and gameplay that bordered on hypnotic. Some players even reported feeling a sense of losing control, as the game seemed to watch them just as much as they watched it. What made the game even more eerie were the reports of mysterious men in suits who would visit arcades, supposedly collecting data from the machines. These men were described as looking like government agents, and their brief, cryptic visits only added to the growing mystery surrounding Polybius. After only a brief period of time, Polybius vanished. No one seemed to know where the machines went, and no one ever saw them again. In fact, no physical cabinet has ever been found. No manufacturer has ever been identified, and no records of the game exist anywhere, except in whispered rumors and internet threads. This only fueled the myth that Polybius was a government experiment, designed to mess with people's minds and perhaps gather data on their psychological responses. Is there any truth to the Polybius myth? Now, before you get too excited, let's take a step back and ask, did any of this really happen? Unfortunately, the short answer is likely no, at least not in the way the myth suggests. Despite the intrigue surrounding Polybius, there's no definitive evidence that the game ever existed. The first mention of Polybius that can be traced to a specific source was in 1998, when a user on a coin-op gaming forum referenced it. By that time, the game had become part of internet lore and creepypasta culture, leading many to believe it was a real hidden arcade game. When it comes to arcade history, the Polybius story doesn't hold up under scrutiny. No one has ever produced a picture or video of a Polybius machine in action, and no physical evidence of the game has ever surfaced. Even the supposed developer, a company called Sinneslution GmbH, doesn't seem to exist in any official records. If there had been a company behind the game, it would have had some sort of traceable history, but that's simply not the case. Moreover, no arcade owners from the early 80s have ever been able to provide records of Polybius appearing in their establishments. You'd think that in an era when arcade cabinets were carefully cataloged and kept in operation for years, at least one owner would have come forward with proof that they hosted Polybius. But this never happened. So, was it all a hoax? The roots of the Polybius myth. While Polybius may not have been a real game, that doesn't mean there's no truth to the overall story. The origin of the Polybius myth likely traces back to the strange world of 1980s arcade culture, where bizarre and often experimental games were created and placed in arcades. The 80s were a time of rapid technological advancement in gaming, and many game developers were experimenting with new ways to captivate players. It wasn't unheard of for arcades to host weird, avant-garde games that pushed the boundaries of what was expected. Some of these games, like Tempest and Berserk, were notable for their disorienting, fast-paced visuals. It's not hard to imagine that one of these games, perhaps with some exaggerated features or unusual gameplay mechanics, could have been misremembered or embellished into something much darker in the years that followed. Additionally, the paranoia surrounding the government's role in influencing technology, especially in the early 1980s, provided the perfect backdrop for a tale like Polybius. The Cold War was in full swing, and fears of government surveillance were high. The idea that a game could be secretly testing players' mental states or collecting data for some shadowy government project was not too far out of the realm of possibility in the minds of many. Furthermore, the early days of arcade games were rife with rumors, tall tales, and outright hoaxes. The arcade industry was booming, and players, especially younger ones, thrived on the excitement of mystery and intrigue. Stories of cursed games, haunted cabinets, or machines that had a life of their own spread quickly, contributing to the atmosphere of myth and legend surrounding Polybius. The psychological appeal of Polybius. So why does Polybius continue to captivate people, even if it's never been proven to exist? Part of the answer lies in the way the story taps into universal fears and anxieties. The Polybius myth touches on the fear of losing control. In a way, it's not just a story about a video game, but about the human experience in a world that increasingly feels out of control. The idea of a game that could alter your mind, make you lose track of reality, or cause physical harm evokes deep psychological fears. The game symbolizes technology's potential to have power over our minds, a fear that resonates even more in our modern world, where technology continues to advance at a breakneck pace. Moreover, the mystery behind Polybius stirs our curiosity. We love a good unsolved puzzle, and the idea that there's something hidden just out of reach is a powerful draw. The fact that no one has ever found definitive evidence of the game only deepens the intrigue. As more people investigate the Polybius myth, the more they become wrapped up in the mystery, trying to uncover any possible clue that might reveal the truth. The legacy of Polybius. Even though Polybius is likely a work of fiction, its legacy is far from over. The game has inspired countless tributes, parodies, and references in pop culture. From video games to TV shows, Polybius has left its mark on the world of entertainment. The game's influence can be seen in references in shows like The Simpsons and Loki, where the idea of a mysterious, mind-altering game resurfaces. The legend has also inspired numerous fan-made games, trying to recreate the mythical experience of playing Polybius. In 2017, a game titled Polybius was released, fully embracing the eerie nature of the myth with a gameplay style that echoed the disorienting visuals and sounds described in the original legend. Ultimately, whether it was a real game or just a clever piece of internet fiction, Polybius continues to live on as one of the most enduring mysteries in video game history. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the mysterious world of Polybius. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most bizarre video game myths of all time, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Have any thoughts on Polybius? Drop a comment below. We'd love to hear your take on the legend. Until next time, keep exploring the unknown.